Okay, here we are. Jacques, you don't need to mute if it's just me and you. Jacques?
I don't want the background noises coming onto the.
Yeah, but hang on. Let me first figure out what we're gonna do. Think for a second. Well, let's do. I know we've been doing Mazal. I think the last 1 or 2 times, but we'll do Mazal again, just because I'm in the mood.
Okay. I'm gonna just mute for a second.
Go ahead. Okay. It always feels right to do Mazal. That much I can tell you. Shnei suge darkei kabbalat hachachma. There are 2 ways to receive the wisdom. Hachas mikoyach hamazal. Now, wait a second. Hachas mikoach hamazal. Shenolad ha'adam ba'oto mazal. Here the concept of Mazal is the astrological sign that imparts a particular wisdom. So kind of like the Mazal you're born with, right? So the way you receive that is I think the way that I want to explain this is you need to start thinking, Jacques. Ultra, who is that? Hello, how are you doing? You need to think very, very literally. Okay? If you are born on New Year's Day, okay? New Year's Day. Jacques, I'm asking you a question, and I would like you to unmute and answer my question. You are born on New Year's Eve day-ish. Tell me the reality of your birth.
You mean the 1st of January?
Yeah. Tell me the reality.
Well, you're entering this realm with a drunken party.
Well, I'm saying be very, very literal. Is there a good chance that there would be confusion in your delivery room?
Possibly, yes.
You see what I'm saying? Don't underappreciate reality. If you were born in February 2nd, tell me the reality. In the northern hemisphere, sorry.
The northern hemisphere. Very cold.
That's what I'm saying. The reality of winter would be very real. Whatever comes with that. You see what I'm saying? The very real elements and conditions are present in your life. If you were born the same day as your dad's birthday, would that be significant? Yes, it would be very significant. There's already a party going on.
Yeah.
So the koach of Mazal drives the wisdom into you. All of the ingredients. V'haderech hasheniya shehu mikabala mihakadosh baruch hu be'atzmo u'bekavodo. The second way you receive from the Lord himself in all of his glory. So you can see that Shituf is trying, as we always say, to mimic Mazal. Jesus was there when I was born and blessed me. Isn't that what we're saying? Right? Because they don't know Mazal and they don't have any idea of the Sugya. No idea. So if it's not, the Christian knows that it's not always God. Not always. There's Mazal. They don't know that, but there's Mazal, right? So how do I explain that I have this influence that's not from God? It must be, enter your deity here, whatever, Jesus, whatever, But there is something else. It's the way God creates the universe. There's the Mazal itself brings you the Chachma, or you're going to get from God himself. I mean, God just decides that you should have Chachma for whatever reason. And you don't need to explain that. You're not God. But Mazal, you can explain. I was born on, this holiday, this time, this thing. This was going on. When I was born, the hospital was on strike. Jacques, can you understand that? The hospital was on strike when I was born. Would there be commotion in my birth? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And don't think you're not receptive to these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the day you're born. It's the world you're being born into. All these things. What's the difference between getting wisdom from God and from Jesus? Just show me, Mazal. If you're, it looks like you could be a Mazal dominated guy or a God dominated guy. Some people might not have much Mazal at all, but they have a lot of God. And that's not a superior thing. It's like, I think like a lot of these, poor people, like real bless your heart people, they may actually be God people. Like I think like King David hung out with those kind of guys. See what I'm saying? It doesn't mean, I get from God, I'm better, right? You probably don't want to get from God. It means if you're getting from God, it might, I'm guessing, it probably, it's like if you spend time with your teacher after school, probably not the best way to get your education, right? It means you're doing something that the teacher wants to keep an eye on you. But if you get, if you receive from Mazal, if you get it from Mazal, it's step by step, level by level. You don't become Muhammad out of the cave if it's from Mazal. Mazal brings you step by step, methodically. It makes a lot of sense. Aval hamekabel mehashem yizbirich yachol lasig bli hachona. See, if you get it from God, it can come without any kind of preparation. You see what I'm saying? That's a pretty powerful concept, isn't it? Right? Which is actually interesting, because if Jesus blesses me as a Christian, I would say I get the whole package, which is actually wrong. If it was Jesus blessing me in the place of Mazal, as a Christian, I should be saying Jesus got me through step by step. So they actually double confuse it, interestingly enough, right? Again, they should be saying Jesus got me through step by step, but what they do is they say Jesus just blessed me with everything. So they get it doubly wrong. So if you get it from God, it's going to be in one shebang. No preparation. You just get it. Ve'od hevdel, there's another difference. Ima makabel mitzad Mazal. If you get it from Mazal, yesh lo mitnagdim mipnei sha'anashim mekanim bo. Oh, very interesting. If you get it, this is super interesting. I've never even noticed this one before. If you get it from Mazal, you will have opposition from the Noahide rabbis because they're jealous of you. And it actually says Noahide rabbis, and there's a picture of Chaim Richman in my book, actually. It's interesting. But no, seriously, it's I would have to say, in my life, definitely my wisdom is coming from Mazal until this point in the book, and not from God. I think my gear work proved that, and my in-body work is definitely step by step. You become more chased after than other men. You cannot be wise and not be have jealous people coming after you. That's very interesting. Jacques, you hear this? How do you know if you're wise if basically you have Noahide rabbis coming after you? That's a nice compliment. Which is interesting because Joel Bax never had anyone coming after him from jealousy. They went after him because he slept with all kinds of women. It was not a jealousy thing. It was because he's a creep. Just to point out that difference. But anyways. If the Lord gives you wisdom, lo ye lo kitro klal, no one comes after you. Mishum shemi'ito lo teitzuran, nothing bad comes from God. Wow, so this is actually a weak proof that Christianity is avodah zarah. Jacques, can you tell me what I'm thinking? Can you take my train of thought? According to this, Christianity is avodah zarah. Why? Who was that? No, why is Dixie? Oh. Jacques, you got the answer? Unmute. No? Yeah.
No, I'm not sure where you're going with this. I can't pick up on your train of thought here.
Because if God gives me, does a Christian say that with, if you want to call it God or Jesus, I don't care which one right now, with the deity, when the deity blesses you, all of your enemies will be brought down, kneel the knee, blah, blah, blah. Don't they say that?
Yeah.
And we're saying only when God gives you wisdom that happens, correct?
Right.
So Jesus is God, correct?
Right.
You see how the conflation is very not okay? It's bad enough. It's bad enough that they pervert the sugya, okay? And if you don't like my Christian Jesus analogy, put in whatever you want, whatever other shituf you want. If you're not in the Torah A discussion, your rabbi, blah blah blah, it's going to be a shituf discussion. It is, and what we see from the Christian is the shituf discussion becomes a avodah zarah because the shituf becomes God. When my shituf blesses me, all of my enemies go down. Don't we hear that message in religion like every day? Every day? The rabbi, the this, the leader, right? When they give you the wisdom, when Rabbi Nachman teaches you Likutei Moharan, all the enemies go down. When the Rebbe is crowned the Messiah, everybody will acknowledge him. Tell me if I'm wrong. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Makes sense, no?
Yeah, makes sense.
So again, it's step one that you messed up the sugya. It's step two that you placed your shituf in the place of God.
Right.
It's a real problem. And now we have a qualitative indication I mean, look, I'll sit here and tell you that I'm wise, and I am, but it's not me. It's everybody. This is the point. You need to realize you have wisdom. That's step one for you. That's step one for you. As a person, as a human being born under a Mazal, you have wisdom. So stop thinking you don't. That's step one. Religion will have you believe you do not have wisdom, but your leader does. Right? So, number one, you have wisdom. Let's make that very crystal clear. The question, what we have to ask, it's like the Mazal Sugya. Is there Mazal? No, Jews don't believe in luck. And that's not the Sugya. The Sugya is, granted that there's Mazal, can you change your Mazal? You are asking the wrong question. So you stop asking the stupid question whether or not you have wisdom, because you're stupid if you ask that question, which by definition you can't be stupid because you have Mazal, you have wisdom. So your question makes even more lacking. It lacks sense because it's a dumb question, but you are by definition not dumb. Okay, so now that you have wisdom, the question is it coming from Mazal or God? And very simple. If you have jealous people in your life, it's from Mazal. If there are no jealous people in your life, it is from God. And I think we can see this formula. You guys have an idea of someone successful in the real world, on TV, whatever, sports, that everybody loves? I'll tell you one. I know that you don't know him. There's a wrestler, the greatest wrestler in American history. His name is John Smith. John Smith has no enemies. None. Not in wrestling. He's a super class act. 6-time world champion. 2-time Olympic champion. He's just... You don't hate John Smith. Now, I always enjoy listening to interviews of John, okay? And now I know why. Can either one of you two tell me why I like John Smith and why the entire wrestling community likes John Smith? It's a fact. Everybody likes him. Now, I'm sure he upset somebody once in his life, but why does everybody like John?
Because he got his talent and his wisdom from God. Exactly.
It's proof. And look, it's not just me saying that. In the wrestling world, it's it. So look into your lives. You will find someone that is super great, and you're not jealous of him. Why am I not jealous of John Smith? Why is every wrestler not jealous of the guy? Why? He's better than you. He's more successful than you. In every way, John Smith is better than you. But yet, you look at him and you say, "Oh, it's a cool guy. I like John Smith." But another guy, like I'll tell you whose wisdom does not come from God. I want to tell you who it is. A perfect example: LeBron James. No one likes LeBron James. Nobody. Why? Why is there an endless debate? Is he better than Michael Jordan? Not better than It's every day. Why? Because everyone's jealous of him. Why? Because he gets it from us.
Would arrogance play into this as well?
That's a good question. Are you a bit of an arrogant jerk if you get your Mazal, or if you get your wisdom from Mazal? You're asking, like, what is the catalyst that people are jealous? I'm probably so. Because John Smith is a super class act. You watch him and listen to him, super classy guy. And he's not arrogant. But if you get another wrestler who's super talented and successful, you get to feel like, I like the guy, but there's something that just bothers me. It's probably like you're saying, it's not arrogance. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit me. It's all about me on a certain level. Now, it's not an evil thing. It's the sign of Mazal as opposed to the sign of God. And it's because no evil comes from God. I mean, there's nothing evil about John Smith's talents. But another wrestler, there would be a little bit of evil in it. A little bit. So can you guys think of somebody in your lives, a clear chacham, that represents wisdom from God as opposed to wisdom from Mazal? It's an open-ended question. You don't have to answer. It just popped in my head as a wrestling fan. It's definitely John Smith in my world. Go ahead.
Sorry, can you just explain to me again what is you say a kochna? What the word kochna means?
Can you think of a
Chokhmah is wisdom.
Yeah, wisdom. Can you think of a hands down wise man, successful man or woman in this case, right? That it's from God or from Mazal? Again, sports is like an easy example. It's just I think Michael Phelps is God. I mean, he's got his own personal issues, but like nobody has any issues with Michael Phelps. The guy won like 30 medals. Like, okay, no one says, "Oh, there he goes again." No one says that. No one. No one says like he ruined swimming. No one says that. Everyone's like, "Oh, interesting. Let's hear what Michael Phelps has to say." I mean, I'm using a lot of sports analogies. I'm aware of that. You hear what I'm saying? It's clear. I mean, I'll tell you whose wisdom comes not from God. Bibi Netanyahu. That guy has no God in him. It's all Mazal. Everyone's jealous of that guy. Everyone in his.
Who?
Netanyahu.
Oh, okay.
Everybody in this country is jealous of the guy. Worldwide, every leader has problems with Bibi. And he's clearly a chacham. Clearly. So there's a great example. Again, I think now when you see, and again, everybody's got chachma, and you're going to ultimately need to ask your own self if it's from God or from Mazal. But to paint the picture and the example, you should be able to see obvious display of chachma, wisdom, as sourced either from Mazal or from God himself.
So what are you saying? You're saying when somebody's not liked and he has lots of opposition, it's Mazal.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, in the sports world, you can see that guy every time. And I'm always asking myself, there's another basketball player by the name of Russell Westbrook. Okay? Mm-hmm. He's a great basketball player. And everyone says the guy's clean, good citizen, like everything. Nothing wrong in the open market, okay? Nothing. But no one likes him. And on the talk shows, no one knows why they don't like him. They abuse this guy, and in terms of media representation, he's a great guy. He gives effort, he tries, seriously. But no one likes him. Why? Mazal. And some guys are, let's say, less good for whatever it's worth, and everyone loves them. I'll tell you, in basketball, it's Steph Curry. No one dislikes the guy. No one. Why? And you can see it in their behavior. You can see it in their demeanor. Everything about them. Steph Curry is coming from God, and Russell Westbrook is coming from Mazal. And I'll tell you, I think my Mazal changed. My Torah wisdom comes from Mazal, not God. For sure. But in body, I have no opposition. Literally none. No one gives me grief in this country. No one. Why? It's coming from God. So again,
so we've learned that the Mazal coming from God is pertains to the nations, right?
Yeah.
Mazal comes from Yod Kei Vav Kei.
Yeah.
So what makes you say that LeBron James or whoever he is, you say his Mazal comes from God?
No, it comes from Mazal.
No, his talent comes from Mazal.
Yeah.
What makes him have that? I mean,
Because everybody does, but the problem is he's going to bless Jesus at the end. And then think about it. Here's the answer to the question.
Mm-hmm.
Now Jesus is God. LeBron James thinks God is giving him everything. You see how it's like triple twisted now.
Yeah.
Triple twisted. I'm getting Mazal. It's Jesus, and Jesus is God. You see what I'm saying? God is giving me. See how it twisted? It's like a rope of braided back and forth wrong every time. Every time.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually quite easy to see where LeBron James is getting it from. But in his Christian mind, he literally has it backwards 10 times. I know special because I know special because I'm LeBron James. And Jesus is my savior. Jesus is God. God gave me everything, yet people hate me. So you're against God. But I mean, it's profound how backwards it is.
Okay, so now, do the nations have Mazal?
They do, but in somewhere in their Gan Eden of their brain, okay, they cannot recognize it. So you got to put the Shituf in, and now it's Jesus, and now it's God, and you're evil, Jacques, because you're against God because you're jealous of me. You're the enemy.
Okay.
You are now, because of this confusion, you are my enemy. How many times have we seen these debates on Facebook? The very fact that there's a debate tells you it's Mazal and not God. The very fact that there's a debate. So in my Shituf mind, I'm one with God. And Jacques, you're arguing with me. You're clearly the enemy. You're against God. You must be an Amalekite that needs to die. Is that a realistic statement? I think we've all seen that.
If I can add in, it's almost when you speak to Christians, then it always goes about who's right and who's wrong, because if you're right, it means I'm wrong, and I can't be wrong.
This is the thing.
Nobody wants to be wrong, and that's where they actually lose focus of what it's actually about. It's not about being right or being wrong. It's about what is true and what is not true.
Right, but the whole thing, because they get it backwards, okay, the very fact that there's opposition shows that it's not God, it's Mazal, and now you're confused, Mr. Shituf guy, and you think Mazal is God, and God gave me everything, and I'm offended that you're even offended. So obviously you're the devil, and you're evil, and you're probably an Amalekite, and you need to die, and you better pray to Jesus saves your soul, blah, 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 all because you got it wrong. If you just knew, yes, I'm wise, it's wisdom, but it comes from Mazal, and it's okay. It's okay. It did not come from God. It's not the end of the world. You see what I'm saying? I think actually, Jacques and Salome, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but the arrogance, the real question you need to ask yourself is not, is it arrogant, but where does the arrogance come from? And I realize the answer. Because you're confused. When you are coming from Mazal and you think it's from God, now you're confused. And Jacques, we learned this at Evan Shlema, right? The gaiva creates anger. So because I'm confused, it creates confusion in you. I'm wise and you're arguing with me. Don't you know that it's coming from God? Now I'm arrogant. And now I'm going to upset you and you're going to be jealous of me. And now I'm angry. Does this sound like every Facebook fight that ever existed? Yeah.
Yeah.
If you would just be a little bit humble and understand that I'm wise, and we would both, or I would understand that my wisdom is from Mazal, we can have an intelligent conversation. Because remember, you're not an idiot either. You also have wisdom. And it remains to be seen if your wisdom is from Mazal or God. If yours is from Mazal, you need to humble yourself and understand that it's not from God. And now we can have what's called a difference of opinion, and it's okay. And this is what the Mazal Sugya talks about. Two people coming from one Mazal with different perspectives. You're not wrong and I'm not wrong, but we disagree. But because you're both idiots thinking that it's God, now one needs to die. Literally, these people are wishing death upon other people because of this confusion.
And that's all about lack of knowledge.
I bet you this is where a mullet comes in. I really do. I really think so. This is a mullet. I really think so. Because everybody has wisdom. Now that I have wisdom, I assume in my, because God created Shituf, right? It's that the klippa of the Gan Eden of the mind. Okay, my mind needs cleared out. That's the task of man. Because I haven't done that, clearly my wisdom comes from God. Clearly. So now I'm arrogant and angry. I've now created the wisdom itself, by the way, is the Amalekite. You're dealing with very toxic superpowers called wisdom. And if you get it right, it's a very holy superpower. If you get it wrong, it becomes the clip of Amalek. You're too smart for your own good. Because you appropriated that it must be God, and now your Shituf is God, and because you don't kneel to me, you must be the enemy of God, and you need to die. Is that not Amalekite? I'm actually wishing a tornado or a hurricane hits South Africa and kills you people because you're disagreeing with me. How many people on the internet actually believe that? A lot. A lot. The Messianic people? Oh, we hope there'll be a big natural disaster because the evil South Africans or whatever country you want to talk about will die. How many times have we heard this? It's everywhere. The end of days. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So the Jacques, this is why you're so into Shituf. The Gan Eden principle is really this is the power of Ger. It's cleaning out the Shituf mechanism in your brain. And when you do that, you stop appropriating wisdom as it must come from God. Now, if your wisdom comes from God, you're actually you're like John Smith. You're a very class act, and you're a good guy. You got blessed. You're truly blessed. Your wisdom comes from God. But otherwise, you're from Mazal, and it's not a worse thing. It's just there's two ways of getting it. And but now I would even say it's higher if it comes from Mazal, because now you have an obligation to clean out your brain. Now you have an obligation to wipe out Avodah Zarah and the anger and the gaiva. And just think like if LeBron James, for example, would do the Torah, what would that look like? What would it look like if LeBron James openly accepted his wisdom from Mazal? Imagine how that would change the world. Seriously. If everybody would just acknowledge the wisdom from Mazal, not take it to God, lose the arrogance and the anger, and have differences of opinion without arguing. How is that not peace on earth?
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the flip side is it's a religious discussion, which is why I hate religion so much, especially in this group, right? Because it's a toxic power because everybody has this wisdom. And because they have the wisdom, it must come from God. And you disagree with me. You're the devil and you need to die. And now we need to argue on Facebook until we pass out and go to sleep till tomorrow. This is every day. Every day. I would even say, at this point, now I'm thinking changing Mazal might just be shut up with God already. Just accept your Mazal comes from Mazal. Stop putting God into it. Which sounds very counterintuitive. Oh, it must come from God. No, actually, it does not must have to come from God. It comes from Mazal, and just accept that. And now you don't need to defend your wisdom as it must come from God. So now you can do a sanctification of God's name because you're not stepping on God's toes. It's a left side. The left side goes higher in Kabbalah. Getting your wisdom from Mazal is a left side thing. It goes higher. It allows you to serve God. I don't know if John Smith serves God the same way as LeBron James in this analogy. Because John Smith isn't struggling. Everyone likes him. It's fine.
I think if you take it as well, if you get your wisdom from Mazal, then you've got room for improvement. If you get your wisdom from God, then that in your eyes would then be that is perfect. Then why can't everyone agree with me? Because the wisdom that I've got is perfect. There's no room for improvement then. And
exactly.
that change, and I was watching a thing yesterday where Christianity is focusing on your worst traits, and you as a person looking into the mirror see, oh, this guy is so bad. I've done so many sins, and my thoughts are so bad, and everyone is like, and well, God came and became man, so he knows where you're coming from, and he's there for you. And like the guy said, you will not find a Jewish guy will go and say, you know, he said, I was down somewhere and I was with a hooker and I had needles and then I found Moses. He said, that's not how it works. It's the other way around. You are made in the image of God. So you need to correctify yourself to become, I'm going to say now, I'm most probably using the wrong word, but become like God, where in Christianity, it's the other way around. God became man, so he is...
This is the thing, the mind that's perverting Gan Eden gets everything backwards, wrong, and confused. And then everything goes from there. Jacques, I think this is why nobody understands money. Because, as I'm experiencing, in Torah, all of my problems came from Torah. All of them. But why am I having no problems in my financial life in terms of social problems? And why can nobody explain to me how to make money? No one. Because I think and this goes perfect, man, the real world, what we're talking about, there's the natural world and the real world. In the occupational Torah real world, it comes from God. So there's no explanation. I don't know why I'm selling in-body machines successfully. I don't know. And now I know why I don't know. It's coming from God. Look, if it didn't come from God, we would all be poor and die of starvation. Because the world would be chaos. When it comes to feeding your family, making a family, if it was coming from Mazal, now we're not saying that there's no Mazal. I'm talking about the wisdom of, okay? The wisdom of. It has to come from God in the real world. The world cannot function that way. And in the natural world, it comes from Mazal. And people are not debating on Facebook real occupational world stuff. Why? Because there's no debate. Everyone's okay with their own self in that sugya. What they debate is their natural or religious world stuff. I think marriage is a natural world entity trying to become real world with God. Women are closer to that world than we are. So and this is why the avoda, I think, is to turn your marriage into something of God. And I'm not talking about holy and pure and, oh, it's with God. No, you're trying to improve so much that God gives you the wisdom, and then don't you want a peaceful life? But like we're saying, don't just go right to God because it's a lesser expression if you haven't earned it and improved upon it. But just because you're an arrogant, angry jerk, because the nature of which your mazel and wisdom comes down, it doesn't mean you don't strive to elevate it to God's domain. The point of the jealousy and the opposition and the mazel is that eventually you should elevate into a godly experience. It's for elevation purposes. There's a reason why you're being attacked. But it's not because you are fundamentally an idiot or a jerk or an arrogant person. Very interesting, isn't it, guys? We're going to call... wait 1 second. We're not done yet. We're in the middle of this. 1 second. Aval im HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Oh, no, we said that. 1 second. Shemid the Lord Ubekach hu masbir et hashalom shebein Shlomo Melech ubein Hiram. This is why there was shalom between Solomon and Hiram. So Solomon was able, it looks like, to elevate. He did the tikkun, which is why he built the Beit HaMikdash. He got his wisdom from Mazal, and he elevated it to God, and that's how he found peace. So the secret of peace, which would be the secret of the Kohen, the priest, is to elevate the wisdom so that it's coming from God. Which is what we're saying. It's okay to be a jerk and arrogant. It's okay. It's okay. As long as you work on that, elevate it, accept it, own it, and stop calling it God. Stop calling Mazal God. Stop making it a shituf. And then when you do that, you will elevate, and the wisdom will start to flow from God himself. I think this is the highest expression of Geula in Zohar imagery, like the higher wisdom flowing down. We'll go ahead and close on that note. We'll open it up for thoughts, comments, or feedback before I go to bed. Go ahead.
It was a lot to take in. Few things I understand. I think I understand the gist of it, but I think I need to just chew a bit on all the information.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Just for interest's sake, on Google, and they say here LeBron James nickname is King James, eh?
Yeah,
Just
exactly. Exactly. That's the point. It's the point. Jacques, anything?
No, it's a hell of a lot to take in.
Yeah. we haven't had a big Mochin download like that in maybe years, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's like taking a perspective from all sides.
Yeah.
Front side Mazal and God. Backside Mazal and God. It's not mind-blowing.
Yeah, it just describes everything, really.
I think if I can take something out for this week is to maybe focus on, if I do get in a situation, to stop and just know that I don't need to agree with you and I don't need to disagree with you. I can literally agree to disagree with you and it will be fine. A winner is not needed, and it goes on the other way around. I don't need to win a conversation if I can say it like that. If the person doesn't want to agree with me, that I must just accept that that's fine.
Yeah, it's the formula. It is what it is.
The whole idea is to do your occupational Torah so that people can see God.
In fact, yeah, and you know what?
Without you saying it.
1 second, we're bringing up, we're making a distinction between wisdom and mazel. But yet we keep saying everything is the Mazal Sugya. So here's the answer. One of the biggest arenas of this bickering is in marriage. Agreed? Isn't that where we bicker the most? Okay? Even if it's dumb stuff. So it must be that our task is to bring Banim, Chaim, and Mazon under God and not Mazal. Meaning bring the Mazal Sugya itself needs to be brought under God. It's ultimately transient. It's moving left to right. Right? You're everything in the Mazal is on the left. And you got to bring it under God.
I thought everything in Mazal is on the right. It was Chokhmah.
That's what I'm saying. You're conflating. There's the Chachma of Mazal, and then there's the Mazal Sugya itself.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always strife in this thing. And it's in all three phases, Mazon, Chaim, Banim, especially Banim. The goal is to bring it under God, get rid of the strife. And that's the Gan Eden, clearing out your mind. And this is how, look, even like in my work now is without strife. But in the beginning, over the last year, it was hell. So I brought it from left to right. A marriage must go from left to right. And what's the third one? Chaim. Yeah, life sucks as a kid, doesn't it? The bickering and, oh, you're stupid and you're, right? As you get older, hopefully your life becomes godly from left to right. I don't know about you, but no one's making fun of my tennis shoes anymore, right? We're not calling Jacques names because he looks funny. Those days are gone because you brought it from left to right. Your life on that level has hopefully improved.
We had a discussion this week with our children regarding why you use your right hand to cover your eyes and why Hebrew is written from right to left and not left to right. And did a bit of investigating and stuff, and it comes down to the fact that left is discipline, judgment, right is kindness. So it brings, I understand the fact that you say the judgment, bring everything that is on the left-hand side, and you need to bring it down to kindness, which is consideration.
Right, and I think everyone in the religious world, they're focused too much on God, and it's wrong, because it sounds appropriate to say everything comes from God. That's the religious thing to say, only it doesn't. It's coming from Mazal. And once you understand that, and you don't call it a shituf, because once you call it a shituf, now you're making your shituf God anyways. Then with your wisdom that you got from Mazal, what do you do with that wisdom? You use it to recognize God. And then you move it left to right, and it's under God also. They don't realize that.
Okay, but sorry, is that now if you say now everything is, because that's one of the conversations that I sometimes get with people is, if you do tell them, you know what, everything is from God, then they'll say, yes, everything is from God. And then if you say to them, well, everything, even the bad things that happen in life, is from God, then they say, no, it's not. That can't be from God. Because
this understanding, they conflate and they mess it up, and it doesn't sound kosher to say that anything comes from something other than God. But it's clearly written. I mean, this is the thing. We're not saying God's not there, not present. It's just being very, very technical under which channel it came down from. I mean, there is something called physicality, or from the angels or the nations, blah, blah, blah. Not everything is coming directly from the source of God. It's coming through channels. But once you acknowledge that, understand it, rectify it, elevate it, do all these things, you use the wisdom gained to recognize and celebrate God. Then you move it. Then you win anyways. You're moving your life in the Mazal from left to right, and then you're right. It does come from God, but you got to get it there. You don't just wake up with God. You got to get it there. You're the one, the vehicle to bring it there. That's your job to bring it there. It will get there.
True, but I think I want to say in a Christian sense of view, it's almost more important for them to realize, and that was one of the big things that I had to realize, and my mom had to point it out for me, that the bad things that happen in life for us, in our point of view, also is good because it comes from God. That idea is a very hard idea for people to understand or to fathom and bring their mind around, because then it means that God created evil, which he says in the Bible or in the Tanakh, if I'm right, he says that he created everything. But people don't want to believe that either.
I'll close on this note because I gotta go to bed, but time and time again, the problems of the world, I know it sounds like a cliche, but is from a gross lack of understanding of the Mazal Sugya. And we see the damage that it does. By not understanding Mazal, it creates all of these bad thoughts. Because wisdom exists. So you're by definition playing with fire. And you don't know about Mazal. So everything, because the nature of wisdom is very high. So it must be that God gave this to me. And I never saw God, never knew God, so it must be Jesus. Jesus must be God. I mean, it just goes out of control. Once you have Mazal in that Gan Eden brain of yours, then the whole story becomes clear and straightened out. And so to speak, the problems go away. And then you move the entity from left to right. And on that note, to be continued. See you guys next week.
Shalom. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.